Okay, so hi guys. Thank you for joining us today. I would just like to start with a first very general question. Could you tell us a bit about your role and how you got there? And if we could start with Anna Paula.
So good morning, everybody, and very happy to be here. Basola, Fuencisla, great to be on this panel with you, and thank you for the invitation. So I've been with IBM for a very, very long time, almost 30 years now. I started as an intern. I graduated in computer science, did my internship with the company, and then after almost 2 years, I joined effectively on the sales side of the house in the Midwest of Brazil, one of our small offices that we had in the country. A few years later, I moved to São Paulo, where our largest operations is in Brazil. And then I took a few years really in the financial services industry, supporting clients in the banking and insurance businesses. I moved to the United States to be the chief of staff of the general manager of the Americas at the time, returned to take over our outsourcing, IT outsourcing services business in the country, moved to software to lead our software business, went to China to restructure our software business there, returned, and then I took the role to lead IBM in Latin America. Then in 2021, the company decided to spin off the services division, the IT services division, and that was a major endeavor. It represented 1/3 of our business, and I had the mission to support the global carve-out of all our clients from this business into the new company. And then I moved to Europe in the beginning of last year to run the business for the region. And most recently, I've also been appointed as the chair. So today I'm the general manager and chair of IBM for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So in a few minutes, 30 years of history with the company.
That's amazing. And then Basola, if you want to follow.
Yeah, sure. Very different, actually. I've actually made a lot of changes throughout my career. I would like to mention that every summer I would do an internship, and starting from the very beginning, and often jobs that were very grounded and not cool, but they gave me a very helpful view of industries and different working environments. I studied in sales and trading at Nomura, which was a great selling training. And it was not a one-off sale, but rather about building trust, credibility, and relationships, which was a great learning. I knew I wanted to do something else, so I decided to do an MBA and chose finance as a major because I felt that feeling comfortable in finance matters was best learned in class. And I can confirm today that is the case and has been very helpful to me, whether you are, even if you're not ever a CFO or have an M&A career. I then interned at Morgan Stanley, but eventually decided to join McKinsey to get closer to business management, operations, and strategy. I learned a lot. I was involved with clients all over Europe. I did many industries, but always with a special focus in B2C and retail. I really loved retail. I felt in love with retail. Leaving McKinsey was not easy for many reasons. I was eager to get into a real industry position, not a business development role or something like that, because I wanted to be responsible for the results and not just advising. I joined a private equity firm. I was focused on portfolio management, working alongside the CEOs of the companies. Was fascinating as they were not huge companies and every penny counted. Finally, I went into industry with Amazon. I held the P&L responsibility of media products, which included books in a very high growth situation and very thin margins environment. Then I moved into a CEO role for CTS Eventim, Spain, an entertainment ticketing company that was both B2B and B2C. It had just been acquired by a larger company, which actually meant a huge transformation from a culture perspective, from a strategic perspective, and from a technology perspective. I learned more than ever, and I became much savvier in technology matters. I was also involved in several board roles across industries. And in 2022, I joined Salesforce I'm currently Senior Vice President for Strategic Customer Office at an EMEA level. So basically, I am an industry advisor. I'm a bit of a bridge between business and technology, bringing the executive and industry perspective. It does involve speaking about technology in a use case basis, identifying which technology will really bring value to the customers, and highlighting how to ensure it does. And I work very much with internal sales teams and helping them have that constructive and value-driven dialogue with companies, with large companies.
Amazing, thank you. Finally, Fuencisla, do you want to finish?
Yeah, so hello everyone. Ana, Basola, it's great to meet you here and everyone else in the room. So my story is slightly different, although I think it has some similarities with Basola. So I studied business and I started my career working in retail. And as Basola, I immediately fall in love with the retail industry because it's really quick. You implement initiatives and you can see the impact very, very quickly of everything you do. You can measure results extremely quickly. And I truly fell in love with that. A couple of years later, I decided to do my MBA, ESE in Barcelona. And that opened a complete new world for me. And so I learned a lot about other options. And I finally decided to get into consulting. So I joined McKinsey & Company in Madrid. I did a lot of work there. And my idea, I remember I said, listen, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it ever. So I will join McKinsey for a couple of years. I'm going to learn a lot, and then I will move on. Well, these 2 years were actually 6. Like you know, that's typical, I think. So it was actually 6 years. It was super intense, but it was a moment in which I probably grew professionally more than ever. I was exposed to very different industries, very different teams, and very different set of people. And I had an incredible moment, I have to say. Really intense, really, really challenging and demanding, of course. But it really, I think it gave me a background and a knowledge that I would have never probably embraced or gotten, no, in a different way. I then had the opportunity to move to one of my customers, and so I joined Carrefour, and I joined the business. They gave me P&L, which was not very common. When you get out of consulting, I saw many of my colleagues jumping into kind of strategy positions, and I was really getting P&L, which was a big difference. And so I joined Carrefour in Spain as director of household categories. I was doing the purchasing, the commercial strategy. And I always say it was one of the best jobs I ever had. Again, remember, I was a passionate and retail lover, so I really got back to my favorite industry. 2 years along the way, I received a call from Google saying we are looking for a retail expert. And I said, oh my God, if I don't get into this train now, probably I will never get into something like this. I knew nothing about technology, nothing about advertising. I didn't even know what a media agency was, but I said, this is the moment for me. If I don't do this now, again, when can I do this? It was 2009. A huge crisis in Spain. I remember my categories were going 2 digits down every single day. And I said, you know, I'm going to join an industry that is growing, and that makes a massive difference. So I joined Google 13 years ago and as a retail head of retail. And I've moved in Google in very different positions every 2 years, managing different industries and doing different set of things, always in Spain. And 6 years ago, I became country manager of Google in Spain. And since then, here I am, having lots of fun, I have to say. I love my job. And I really feel there is a deep sense of purpose on what I do for my country.
Amazing, thank you. And looking back on all of your career paths, is there anything you would change? And leading on to that, could you add one thing that you would not change about your career path? So starting with Anna again. Sure. We're just going to adjust the setup. Sorry, 1 second.
Sorry about this. Just want to make sure everyone can hear. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Would you like me to repeat the question, or are we okay to start, Anna, Paula?
Anna, you are muted, I think.
So I'm good. No need to repeat the question. So one of the questions that people normally ask me is, don't you think you stayed too long working for the same company? And that is the thing that I would not change in my career, because IBM has changed so much over the period that I stayed in the company. 3 different CEOs, spin-offs, acquisitions. I worked in different parts of the business, software, services, sales. Those are very, very different business models that I needed to adapt and adjust to. There is one thing that I would have changed, would be having at some point in my rotations worked in some of the functional areas of the company, finance, operations, just to get a little bit more breadth in terms of how the inner parts of the company operate. But other than that, I think that I had exposure to different business models, as I said, the different parts of the organization. I had exposure from an international standpoint. So I worked in the US, I worked in Latin America, I worked in Asia. Now I'm working in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which is another fantastic region. So overall, I'm satisfied. I'm happy. There are always opportunities to learn more. As part of my multiple roles, I worked with different industries, supporting clients to implement technologies to transform their businesses, to bring in efficiencies, to innovate. So that also gave me an opportunity to work with different industries. So overall, even though working for the same company for decades, So do you want me to turn over to somebody, Amina?
We lost the last sentence you said, Anna Paula. Do you mind just repeating the last sentence?
Who do you want me to turn over to?
Could we, Basola, do you want to continue the conversation?
Yeah, sure. When I was thinking about, as you asked the question, I would like to answer it thinking about the audience, right? I would say, I would start with what I would not change. In my case, I would not change the variety of experiences, because it actually forced me to come out of my comfort zone so many times. At times it was hard and it was exhausting, but it was great to broaden my perspectives and opportunities. So that's the one thing that I'm really happy about. What would I change? Maybe getting acquainted with tech sooner. The same way that I explained that getting acquainted with finance and getting very comfortable on that was very helpful, I would have benefited of getting acquainted with tech sooner. And all the things that I wanted to change, I did so by changing roles. So that was addressed. And one thing I've never done is starting something from scratch. I've never been an entrepreneur. So if I'm totally honest, that's something that I've never done, and it feels that way.
Amazing, thank you. Fuencisla, do you want to follow on?
So for me, I always wondered, I was very good in science, I was very good in maths, and seeing where I am today, I always wonder if instead of business, I should have studied more of a technical career. and I leave it there. So question mark. I don't know what is the answer, no, but it often comes to my mind now that I am actually in tech. And I love this industry, and I always wonder, you know, if I had done more of a technical career, I would probably understand things in a deeper way. I understand them because I am very intuitive, I'm very close to technology, and you kind of learn, but I'm not deep into it. So that's my big question mark around my career. What I would not change is, for me, is what has been the driver of my career. My driver has always been, I wanted to make sure I was learning. And the day my learning curve was doing plateau, that was the moment to change. And this is how I've managed my career, looking for learning opportunities and looking to be out of my comfort zone. Not thinking about the promotion, not thinking, you know, about the money, really thinking about what is the challenge here, what are the new set of skills I'm going to acquire, and where does it take me, more on a long-term perspective, thinking about the narrative and what is going to be my story. And I think that works. And very often when I talk to younger people about their careers, I'm so surprised at how they lose sight of these things, and they really focus on things that I don't think matter, and that never matter in the way I manage my career.
Thank you, guys. And leading on to this, what is one piece of advice you would give to students wanting to enter either the tech or the sales world? Again, Anna Paula, if you want to start. Sorry, you're muted.
So you're going to see that, unfortunately, these industries is still very much male dominated, right? And use that actually as your superpower. That's how I approached it throughout my career. I decided to study computer science. One of the reasons was because the share of women in the industry was very small, and I said, if I do well, I think I'm going to shine more than the rest, than the average. So use that as your superpower, as your great opportunity. So that's point number one. Technology is an ever evolving industry. The cycle of technology today, it stays from 3 to 5 years. So you need to be adapting your skills very fast, very quickly. You have to be eager to learn, and you have to be able to let go of old skills and acquire new skills very quickly. And finally, technology, for technology itself, it's a little bit boring. So understanding how technology really can be applied to transform businesses, to improve efficiencies, to automate processes. I mean, how you really connect the different technologies to support business operations, to support how companies can perform better, is the beauty of it. And then sales ends up becoming very, very much of a consequence, because if you are able to articulate how the technology brings benefits to the business, then you are really doing the sales of the sales pitch and the sales part of it.
Amazing advice. Basola, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. I agree deeply with what Anna Paula just said, so I will not repeat it. I will just add two things. One, in order to be a good sales, it's good to understand as well as possible the other side of the table. So to the extent that you've got hands-on experience in an industry, then you can actually sell in a much more credible and trustworthy way. And overall, I would actually say, be sure that what you want is sales or tech. Make sure you don't want it for the money. Make sure you don't want it because others say that it's cool or is an interesting path. There are plenty of great paths. Choose the one that it feels good for you. So don't be too influenced by what others are saying. It has to be something that you feel you will fall in love with. That way you will succeed a lot more and you will have a lot more fun.
Thank you. Fuencisla, do you want to continue?
So listen, I think almost everything has been said. That's the bad luck of being the last one. But no, what I would just ask is, what I would add is, explore and understand by yourself. So don't stick to the biases, you know. And sometimes I think for women, tech can be even, you know, boring or not so exciting. Be sure you do your exploration and you go a bit deep and you don't get on the first layer, you know, and you actually truly understand what this is about. And the sense of purpose, you can actually get it from it because it's really truly transformational. And so I think it will require to make some questions to, you know, to talk to different people and to truly understand what it is it like. No? And again, sales, probably each of you has already a picture of what doing sales mean. And until you go there and then, you know, you see, for me, the best thing about sales is when I am able to make my customers succeed. Is, you know, good meeting, customer saying, thank you, you helped me so much. That made my day. And so again, what gives you energy? When are you at your best? What are those kind of situations? And think about, is it when I am with people? You know, is it when I help others? Well, for me, sales is about that. It's about helping others and making others succeed. It's not about pushing my products because this is what my objective says for this week, for this month, right? And so you need to truly understand those different professions and those different roles.
Thank you. A lot of the students here will be graduating sort of in the next 5 years. Where do you think tech is going? And how do you think your careers are also going to progress in the future? This time, Fuencisla, do you want to start?
Thank you for that. So, well, you are all probably reading the news and you see the hype that there is in this moment around artificial intelligence. For us, the view is that this is deeply transformational. We are in an inflection point, and the power to transform our lives of artificial intelligence is going to be massive. And so we are really excited to figure out and to define, you know, what is it that we are going to be able to do as humans with this technology. The way we see it is that it will actually help us solve the biggest problems of our society, you know, like climate change, poverty, access to resources. We are not going to solve that without technology and without the power of all the innovation that is going to be coming from artificial intelligence. And I leave it there. So I let the others also build on this.
Thank you. Basola, do you want to follow on?
Yeah, I think tech is going to be everywhere, and it's going to be very much about tech and social elements coming a lot closer together, and it's going to be not only about the innovation in tech, but how we use that technology in order to continue building a world where it's worth living. So kind of the social elements and the tech elements are going to be closely related, and it's going to be very much about that. So it's going to be less of a tech world where it's more about developing and programming and more about the use of it and all the difficulties in bringing it to life from a regulatory perspective, from a social perspective, and what kind of impact it has everywhere. But it's going to be everywhere, and it can do a lot of greatness. And I think I definitely see my career linked to tech going forward, just as much as today or even more. But it's the amazing part is to find new ways of using that technology. There are industries that have been already kind of disrupted by technology in a good way, but there's other industries that have not yet been disrupted that much. Primary sector, for example. And there's a lot to come in all of that. So I would encourage you to kind of read about all those elements, kind of feel passionate about some of the industries that have been less disrupted and where there's a good opportunity to do it and bring goodness, and find your spot in all those areas.
Thank you, thank you. Do you want to continue, Anna?
Yes. So first of all, I think there is no profession today that would not have a tech component to it. Doesn't matter if you are a lawyer, if you are a doctor, at some point there will be some type of technology supporting you to make decisions. So all professions will require some domain and some expertise around technology with different levels of depth. So I think Basola said it very well. That technology became absolutely pervasive and ubiquitous in the world, especially in the world post-pandemic, but that it really became part of everything that we do. Looking into the future, AI is certainly the technology that took a lot of time, in my view, to become really of public domain. And now with ChatGPT, it became absolutely hype. Let's see where this thing is going. The point on ethical usage and responsible usage of technology, to me, is going to be the area of focus in the next coming decades. And I think we are at an inflection point where we really need to take control of the technologies that we are launching out there, because they can become really problematic if they are not done in a way that is consistent with our ethical values. By the way, we did a study last year about the adoption of AI, and most of the companies still don't have the skills required in the market to implement AI following the ethical and responsible standards. So for the girls out there that want to get deep in technology and that want to get their degrees in data science, in AI and machine learning, big opportunity in ethical AI going forward, because companies will need that type of capability to progress with artificial intelligence implementations. And finally, a technology that is starting to become interesting for us, and that IBM has been investing a lot, is quantum computing. So we see quantum as the next wave, or the next cycle of computing. It doesn't mean that this is going to substitute the classical traditional computers. It's going to be complementary to it, but it's going to be able to solve problems that today the traditional computers can't. And there are already a lot of courses and trainings to help people get familiar with the programming language of quantum. And that's another area that I would encourage everybody to explore, because particularly in the finance business, in the finance industry, we're starting to see a lot of adoption. We have a lot of banks in our quantum network exploring how the technology will support them in running the Monte Carlo algorithms and everything that is related to simulations of a portfolio. So watch that space. I think this one is coming faster than we expected.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to some more individual questions. So starting with Basola, you in your career, you've held both managerial and advisory roles. Could you tell us a bit about the biggest learning that you have found from your career and these roles? Basola, you're muted.
Sorry. I was going to say people. The art of managing people. That has been common to all my roles, and is one of the most important and to some extent difficult roles to be had. People have different priorities and ambitions, and as you manage your teams, culture is key, is absolutely key, and so are the people. So both things can make or break a business. So at the end of the day, kind of spending time managing the teams, having a good culture, coaching, spending time, it's key to success in many different ways. So to me, that's the biggest learning, and something that has been true throughout. So yeah, that's the one highlight I would actually make. That's the one highlight.
Okay, thank you. Fuencisla, you originally started your career consulting at McKinsey. What was the transition into tech like? And did you gain values by not directly going into tech?
Yeah, definitely. So as I said, I joined McKinsey after my MBA. And for me, it was really like doing 3 other MBAs, in a row, because the learning experience is massive. So, the fact that you change project every 3 months, you are exposed to very different industries. Every 3 or 4 months, you work with a different team, with a different partner. You are exposed to different cultures. So for me, I would say it's probably difficult to find a place in which the learning curve is so quick. You are so stretched, so out of your comfort zone permanently. And since I joined McKinsey and I finished my MBA and I was 24 years old, for me, definitely was the right thing to do at that moment. And so it also gave me, because in consulting, you are trained, in how to address problems. It's a very structured problem-solving approach. It really gives you a set of tools and it trains you in things that you're going to be able to leverage throughout your career. Also, being very young, so again, I was 24 years old, I immediately found myself presenting to boards, into executive committees, and presenting out there like if I was an expert. And so it also gives you a lot of trust, a lot of confidence. And what I have seen then in my career is that, and when I joined Google, I had to, in order to sell, I really had to go very high into the organizations and talk to general managers and CEOs. And of course, I was very well equipped because of all the things I learned in McKinsey. So that's the upside. Again, what is the downside? And I think I shared this in my introduction. It's extremely intense and it's really hard work. It's 100% dedication or 150% dedication, I would say, because those are very, very demanding careers. And so it's for you to choose, what is it that you want to do.
And following on from your response, could you briefly touch on your views on doing an MBA, and are you glad you did it, and how did it advance your career?
So on this one, I think it will deeply depend on what you ladies have studied. So it's true that I did business, and probably doing an MBA after doing business is weird because you can think, what else is this gonna give her, But for me, it was really again an extraordinary experience. In my case, I did a full-time MBA, so I really quit my career and I dedicated 2 full years to do this. So first, the experience, with my colleagues and getting to know a very different set of people. And I can tell you, I have extremely good friends out of all that experience, and I have an incredible network. So that's the first thing I got. And then again, the MBA really, and if you come from a technical background, the MBA gives you in 2 years a very deep business knowledge. And what we see with technical careers is that some of these people at some point do need leadership skills, managerial skills, and business skills. So I do see in Google people that are 100% technical, that when they enter, becoming managers and leaders, I often see that they miss this training in being a leader, and thinking about leadership. And this is what I definitely think an MBA will give you. It doesn't mean it's the only way to acquire those things. So I've seen also people, coming from technical backgrounds and throughout their career, not through MBAs, but specific, leadership and business courses, acquiring those set of skills. So I think there are very different options in the market to do that, but I do think it's a very nice complement in some cases and an amazing experience. Then it will depend, of course, you know, it will depend on what kind of company to join. Is the company helping you acquire those skills in the job? I also think, by the way, for me, the best way to grow is to acquire skills on the job. And so for me, that's the debate we need to have, you know, ask people, these skills, is it better on the job or should I go out, take some time for me? For me, an MBA is a gift, it's a personal gift. So do you want to take some time for you, fully dedicate to acquire this set of skills, and then you all, and it's going to be a very personal decision, and it will depend on the situation of each of you.
Yeah, interesting. If I may, I do agree, and it's not a must. There's many ways of getting those skills, but it's a luxury. And in my case, it definitely opened a lot of opportunities, and it was a great thing to do. But by all means, it's not a must. Two things I would highlight. One is do it at the right time if you're going to do it, not immediately after finishing your career. It's great to have a lot of experience in the job before that, because then you make the most of the MBA. And the second thing I would add, just to reinforce what Fuen has actually said about the managerial skills, it kind of rounds you up. So if you've got certain things that you do better, like tech, it might be, it kind of gives you the other skills to be able to grow within a company. And to a large extent related to what I said before about people management, which is difficult, and you have to get acquainted with that over time. So it's not a must, but it's a great experience.
Okay, thank you. Anna Paula, you were the first female executive in the IBM Latin American operations. Would you say this affected your experience?
I always looked at that as an opportunity to be a beacon of hope. Let's put it that way. That yeah, women can achieve these levels. Women can have those responsibilities. Women can fly to, you know, the levels that they aspire to and that they want to. So it was, I've never really looked at being a woman in running IBM Latin America, but that IBM Latin America could have a woman, or, you know, any person that has the experience, the competencies, the capabilities, they can get there. And to me, I always try to use the opportunity to encourage women to, you know, believe that this is possible, that they can get there. I think, as Fuen said, it's a hard work. It's a tremendous commitment. It's a level of dedication that probably not everybody is willing to do. So this has really to be a choice. This has to be something that brings you joy, that brings you satisfaction. Never look at that, or never take those roles just to prove to somebody that you can, but to really satisfy yourself and you know, use that when you get there, really as an opportunity to develop others and to support others in achieving their dreams.
Thank you. And following on from that, you have, as you've mentioned before, you have a strong passion for like diversity. And how is that implemented successfully in such a large international company like IBM?
Yeah, I would say that because we are large and an international company, we have to do that, because we operate in 170 countries, and we have to be able to connect and to address the needs of each one of the markets that we operate in. And we have to reflect the societies that we have our operations in. First of all, I think it's intentionality. You have to bring diversity and inclusion to the business model of the company. So for us, it's really the need of ensuring that we are having the multiple perspectives that exist out there as we are developing our technologies. As I said in the beginning, when we were talking about the technology trends, responsible, ethical AI, one of the key aspects is to make sure that you are releasing unbiased technologies. You cannot have an unbiased environment if you don't have a multitude of backgrounds, perspectives, and of course the gender equation is part of that. Second, 50% of the workforce is women, right? So I have to have that representation as well inside the company. And when we look in terms of skills, the latest report that I saw, these are United States data, but there'll be more women graduating in universities than men, right, in this decade. So in terms of capabilities and skills, we have a tremendous source of talent in the female sphere, and we have to make sure that you're tapping into that resource of capabilities. And then the second element is really, I mean, you bring these super talented people into the organization, how you develop, how you nurture, how you make sure that they are really achieving their goals in terms of development and progression. And we all know that at some point in the career, women face the reality of building a family, having children, and all the studies that we show, that we see, these are the point of fragility, right, in terms of career progression. So how companies can support women as they traverse that period where they have to juggle a lot of plates is something that it's always in our focus and in our programs to make sure that we have implemented, parental leave programs and support so that women feel that they have the safety net present for when they have to go through that critical moment in their lives. And finally, if they need to take a break, if they need to, it's too much to handle, I want to now focus really on my personal priorities. There are programs also to bring women back to the workforce when they feel that it's time to return. So you need to reskill, you need to upskill. So these are also programs that we put in place to make sure that when they decide to come back, they are ready for this. So I think it's really following the life cycle and ensuring that you're providing support in each one of those stages.
Okay, amazing. Thank you guys for all your responses. It's been really insightful for me, and I think it's been really insightful for all our members. Sorry. So I'm just going to wrap this up now. So could we give them a round of applause?